In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, to whom we all have to be. Honorable listeners and respectable audience, you know that we have started a series of linguistics. In linguistics, we have commenced the chapter that is known as neurolinguistics. Neurolinguistics is the study of the relationship between brain and language. In neurolinguistics, I told you about the exterior parts of the brain, such as left frontal lobe, left temporal lobe, occipital lobe, and parietal lobe. Today, I'm going to teach you the interior parts of the brain. The first one, that is prefrontal lobe, prefrontal cortex. What is prefrontal cortex? What are the functions of prefrontal cortex? And if this part of the brain is damaged, then what problems can be faced by humans? Listeners and audience, remember that prefrontal cortex is known as the CEO of the brain. Why it is called the CEO of the brain? It is because this part of the brain functions as chief executive officer. It means whatever functions, whatever role chief executive officer plays, same is the case here. The first function, that is executive function, but let me tell you about the location first. It is actually the interior part, and it is the part of the frontal lobe. Here it performs executive functions. What is mean by executive functions here? Executive functions here mean it manage all activities which we are performing in different ways. It means it manage and control various activities, multiple tasks which we are doing simultaneously. Let me provide one interesting example that you could catch this and grasp it with full attention. See, for example, there is a person and he is cooking a delicious food. So cooking delicious food, he is also having conversation, communication with his friend. So now on the one hand, cooking the food, on the other hand, making conversation. So his focus is not only on the dishes which he is going to prepare, but also on conversation. So this is actually managed by this part of the brain that is known as prefrontal cortex. The second one is decision making. This part of the brain helps us or responsible for decision making. But here decision making means that it helps us that either what kind of action to be performed and what kind of action should not be performed, what action is good and what is bad, what is positive and what is negative. For example, when a person gets up early in the morning, he or she, for example, thinking that it's what work to be performed. For example, it's Sunday and it is off of the college, university or the school. So now there are two tasks. First, he is thinking that let's watch the TV, or he is thinking that let's study. But this part of the brain helps to focus and study is compared to watching the TV. Why? Because the student will be thinking about the skipping the study. If he or she skips the study, it may have negative consequences upon his result. It means he may fail. Second one is self-regulation, the third one. What is meant by self-regulation? Self here regulation means this part of the brain not only manage the things, the task, but also control. For example, it controls the thoughts, emotions, and it has proper balance. You will be thinking that how it controls emotions and thoughts. For example, whenever is a mature person, for example, he or she is hungry. He or she will not cry. He or she will not yell out or shout it like children. There is very interesting point. In the children, for example, when a child is of, for example, of 2 or 3 years of age, so he openly uttered and cry and even ye before other people, please, I need food, and even, for example, doing like this and even dancing that I need food. On the other hand, when a child reaches to almost 5 or 6 years of age, then he is doing this kind of activity only before his parents, not before the strange one. For example, before his teacher, he can't do this. Before his friends, he can't do this. But he can do this again before his parents. But when he or she reach to complete maturity, for example 14, 15, 16, etc., then he does not continue this. Why? With the passage of time, this stage develops. What kind of stage develop? Prefrontal cortex develop. Okay, then working memory. This part of the brain plays an important role in working memory. Here, working memory mean, working memory only words that when we are communicating and we are getting the information, it is for the short period of time. However, working memory can shift to long-term memory when we repeat, when we practice, and when we share. Now, the question is that what is meant by development of the prefrontal cortex? As I told you, that prefrontal cortex, it develops, it's reached to its maturity, but its maturity is 20 years. When someone decides and his or her age is less than 20 years, it means most of his or her decision will based on emotion. They will take risks in the life, but after 20 years, whatever decision they are going to take, they will not be based on emotions. Why? Because the prefrontal cortex now reached to its complete maturity, and before going to emotions or act upon emotions, this part of the brain help to have a balance. And then we have the disorders of prefrontal cortex. Now you know the disorder is well. If unfortunately this part of the brain is damaged, what can be the disorders? There will be no proper balance, particularly no proper management of emotions. The person can be showing aggressive, hurt behavior, and he will not focus upon the situation but will show upon his emotions, for example, expose his behavior before other, etc. Similarly, he or she will not be able, for example, to solve to do any kind of work, particularly take a proper decisions in his life. And self-regulation, for example, as I told you, normally the person does not shout, but he will shout like the children, etc. So hope that you know about the prefrontal cortex and its function.